Hello lovely people. If you're just beginning your journey on classical guitar, you might be faced with two choices: the Cordoba C5 or the Yamaha C40, C45. There's a few variations. I've got here the Cordoba C5 and this is the C45 here. We'll take some photo shots. I'll take a look at maybe the neck shape, try to show you guys how it feels, go over the differences between the two guitars. I've also strung them with a fresh set of EJ46 and we'll do a very highly unscientific sound comparison between the two. And then lastly, I'll just give you some of my thoughts on the two guitars. So let's take a look. Okay, to compare the guitar neck shape, what I thought I'll do is I'll get a ruler and I'll get a pipe cleaner, and then what I'll do is I will put the ruler at the first fret and I'll mold the pipe cleaner to the back of the neck, and maybe I'll do it at the middle of the neck at the 7th fret, and then I'll lay it down on this grid mat here, which is in centimeters, and you can take a look at the different shapes of the neck. Okay, now let's listen to the guitars side by side. So what did you guys think? What I found really interesting was that the neck feels really different for the two guitars. The C5 is more rounded over here, whereas the C40 is more flatter. So I have very small hands. I've gotten used to the C5, but maybe the flatter one helps slightly. And then towards the end, towards the middle, it feels like it's rounder around the C40, whereas it feels flatter. It flattens out for the C5. Yeah, it's hard to see, but flatter, rounder, flatter, midway, rounder. We've got the polished side as opposed to the matte of the neck. Both tuners are very serviceable. I don't think they're very expensive. They look fairly similar, but the C5, if anything, just looks a bit more premium. Performance-wise, I don't think there's going to be much of a difference. The bridge, the good thing about the C40 is that it has these hard strips, so the string doesn't dig into the bridge, whereas my C5 has a rather soft bit of wood on the bridge, and so the strings have started to dig into the end if I tie the classical way. Inside here there's a neck block that I find in the C5 that's not in the C45. The polish just seems better on the C5, but that shouldn't really contribute to the sound. The C45 has a laminate top, which is really good if you're not going to be in a climate controlled room, you want to bring it about. This would be more indestructible than the C5. The C5 will probably need a bit more care being a solid piece of wood. The first question is, can you hear a difference between the two guitars? If you can't, then maybe picking the cheaper option may be better. I think the quality of the guitar doesn't make much of a difference for a beginner. Surely you can have bad guitars, but neither of these guitars will be bad in any stretch of imagination. I think the quality of both of these guitars it won't deviate wildly, being fairly large factory-made guitars. I think spending money on a setup, the C45, the saddle is very high. You could lower it down just a touch more. And the C5 came with a slightly sharper frets that I've filed using a fret file just to make it more comfortable for myself. In any way, it probably is worth paying a bit of money to get them properly set up. So which one would you choose? In my mind, just getting to learn guitar, it doesn't really matter. And in the long run, if you continue to play guitar, I'm sure you would understand guitars a bit better and buy something that would be better than any of these two instruments. Either way, it's probably not a good idea to be too focused on materials. Focus on the music and upgrading the musician, which is yourself. Was this helpful? Love to hear from the comments below whether you thought sample A or sample B sounded better and which one you thought it was. Thanks for watching. Bye.